Hey there, welcome back to the channel. So with the 2018 coming into an end, and this being the last video of 2018, I wanted to, as I was watching Sunday Night Football, by the way, nothing is more indicative of the NFL in 2018 when you go to the last game of the season, you have two teams that could potentially get into the playoffs, and a third team praying that they get a tie so they can get into the playoffs. If that's not a microcosm of this NFL season in a nutshell, I don't know what is. So at least it'll be worth watching. So for the last video of 2018, you can do a retrospective. That's kind of a cool idea, but I thought about the way that I could approach that, and I wasn't doing the same thing the whole year. I really only started getting back into posting consistently in September because I refocused the channel to focus more on my hobbies, specifically sports cards, because that's been a consistent hobby throughout. Probably later on I'll make another video talking about why that is the case or why I chose to go that route with the channel, but for now, I wanted to focus in on 2019, what's coming up in the future. So specifically, I want to talk about 5 goals, and I really don't want to use resolutions, 5 goals that I have for 2019, and then I'm also corresponding 5 little tips that I've kind of learned along the way in my time collecting. I don't always follow them well, and I'll kind of talk about that, but at the same time, these are things that I wish that I would follow on a consistent basis, and it's kind of a reminder to myself. And the other reason for making the video is I want to hold myself accountable so that I can come back next year in December, hopefully in the last video of the year, and kind of see how I did. So without further ado, let me get to number 1. So my number 1 goal for 2019 is kind of combined. So it's two in one sort of. So 1A is to complete my Jamie Benn rookie collection. So if you've been following any of my pickup videos the last couple of months, really, I've been working on a collection of trying to get all the 2009-2010 Jamie Benn rookie cards. So I've got examples for all of them. So I'll use this one here as an example. So that's the one from the cup. Make sure that's, there we go, that should be in focus. And you can probably see the glare off of the monitor from the football game as well, so I'll move that a little bit. So there you go. So that's from the cup. So the goal was actually to pick them up. So there are 19 rookie cards in total, and right now I have 18 of 19. So I should be able to get that one pretty easily. Well, I should say I have ordered 18 of 19. I don't have them all in hand. Probably the next couple will come in the first mail day of 2019. But I'm going to be at 18 of 19. I know exactly which one's missing. I've even seen it on eBay. So right now I'm just trying to find one at the price point that I'm happy with. So that'll be happening in 2019, almost assuredly. And along with that, along the same idea, and this will come into one of the tips I'll talk about later, the other little theme that I wanted to go with that, kind of expanding upon it, is I also want to get all the cards of Jamie Benn from the 2009-2010 season, so his rookie year. So what I did is I actually built the checklist. I used Beckett, so after dropping something. So I used Beckett to basically print out a checklist for myself just to keep track. Once I removed all the one-of-ones, because that's not realistic, not because I can't get them, but if you're missing even one, you're not complete. And that isn't really something I wanted to pursue, especially since a bunch of them are just printing plates, which are cool if you have one, but they're not something I want to actively seek out. But as soon as I removed all the printing plates and the one-of-ones, what I was left with was a nice, neat, tidy list of exactly 100 cards. So it takes up 4 pages, and I've got the current guide price on here. It's a good handy reference for me to just have on my desk. So 100 cards is actually kind of a good sounding number. I was actually really happy that it came up to such a round number because it's kind of easy to tell where I'm at. So my sub-goal, other than getting all the autographs, my sub-goal for the 2009-2010 is by the end of 2019, I want to have 60%. So 60 out of the 100 cards that I'm missing. So currently, I did write it down just so I have it with me. So right now I've got 28. So that's 28%, so including 18 rookie cards and 10 other cards from that year. And that includes parallels, memorabilia cards, autographs, everything. And I've got 8 incoming, basically, that I'm waiting to arrive in the mail. So when that happens, that'll be up to 36. Getting 24 more in the year doesn't sound like a lot, and it isn't really. But I think what I'm going to find is it gets progressively harder. So one kind of a sub-tip that I'll give about that is you want to set realistic goals so you don't feel like you completely got blown out of the water early. So my tip to go along with that, my tip number 1, is narrow your focus. And that's something that I really had to learn because I started off as kind of a set collector, and then I became a bit of a team collector throughout my years, and then I also became a player collector. I was trying to collect all Mike Modano cards, and that became unsustainable. The team collection was unsustainable. Even some of the sets, sustainable, because at least you've got a narrowed focus, but then it became, all right, which sets you're going to collect? Which sport are you going to collect? I like football, I like baseball, and I like hockey. You can't collect all the sets from everything at the same time. So narrow your focus doesn't mean you can't go back and not collect some of those other things later, but it means you can put a little bit of the focus in on these now. It's basically the same idea as trying to like clean your house and deciding suddenly to start in every single room trying to clean something. It's something that I tend to do sometimes, and then I realize how stupid I'm being, because all you end up doing is starting about 50 projects throughout and you don't finish anything. So narrowing the focus kind of helps with that. That's why focusing just on the Jamie Benn rookie cards first, getting almost to the end of that, and then doing the ones from that specific year, that's doable. That's a set number of cards. Because he's still playing, they're producing more cards. If I tried to collect all of them, then I basically would have no time to collect anything else. So that takes me to my goal number 2. So goal number 2 is, again, narrowing the focus, is focusing on my vintage baseball collecting, is I want to complete the 1955 Bowman set. So there you go. So as an example, I brought the 55 Bowman Hank Aaron. Actually, let me turn on the light here to help out with that, hopefully a little bit. Might give some glare, but we'll see how that goes. So 1955 Bowman Hank Aaron. Yeah, now I have to compete with the light and the reflection. Let me just turn off the reflection for now. That'll probably help a little bit. There we go. So a 55 Bowman set, I'm actually down. I have some that are en route as well. I've got all the star cards basically in the set. The only thing I'm really down to is a lot of the high number and umpire cards, which are tricky in and of themselves. I believe I'm under 10. The exact number escapes me right now because I'm sort of counting the ones that are en route. I'll put it at the bottom here exactly where I'm at, but I'm probably under 10. So this one's coming really close. Realistically, I'm not going to try to just finish it off in January, but it's going to be in the first part of 2019 that I hopefully should have this set complete. And then maybe I'll do a little showcase of some of the better cards on that. And then I may end up upgrading a few of them, in case you want to see the back, looks like. It's a pretty clean card. So this one is a PSA VG4. This one's miscut, as you can see. It's really, the centering up top to bottom is completely off. But it's a pretty clean looking card otherwise, so I'm pretty happy with it. So along the same vein, another goal for 2019 is to try to complete my 1954 Bowman set. So again, this one is Willie Mays, 54 Bowman. I've got the Mantle. I've got a bunch of other ones. This one I think I've got about 50 or 60 left. Again, I'll put the real number on the bottom just so I'm being specific. This one's got a little bit more to go, but this set has only got, I think, 224 cards in it. But I think once I'm basically done with the 55 Bowman, I'll be able to put the focus in on these and then get to the finish line on this one. And I would be really happy to finish 250 sets in the same year. That's the first time I would have done that. The only other 50 set I've completed is 56 Tops. And there's some beat up examples in that. If you, I'll put up a link in the description to the video where I do the my collection of Mickey Mantle cards. If you look at that 56 Tops, that's probably nicer than some of the other star cards I have for 56 Tops. So going with 2 and 3, I will give 2 tips that I've kind of learned as well, that kind of go along with that. So I'm also looking at my notes here. That kind of goes under narrowing focus, same as before, as the other one. But also you kind of want to set your own rules, and that kind of goes to that Jamie Benn one as well. There's not too many people that would say, oh, I collect a player for a specific year of the player's career. Oh, I'm specifically collecting the rookie year. You might say I collect the rookie cards, but not the rookie year. But that isn't to say you can't do it. Why not? There's no real, I think this is probably the most important lesson that I learned in the course of my collecting, because I tried to collect sets, and then I tried to player collect, and then I tried to get them all, and then I tried to collect team, and then I'm like, okay, do I get the base cards? Do I get the memorabilia cards? And here's the thing, make it up. Whatever combination or set or whatever it is you want to do that. If it's interesting to you, if it keeps you engaged, then collect all the cards of your favorite player with a red swatch on the jersey. Or collect all the ones where the player is wearing a certain uniform or a patch or the home or away. Make it up. Whatever ridiculous theme or whatever category you want it to be in. If it's interesting to you, then do that. Where I do find it's helpful is if you do a collection where maybe there is a set end goal. That's why I've selected that one specific year of Jamie Benn's career. Being that it was 100 cards exactly, it has a clear beginning, middle, and end. So that's a little bit easier to get your head around, where you can go, okay, I know how far along I am, as opposed to maybe doing just a generic player set where, yeah, it's kind of awesome to pick up new ones. Oh, I've got 100 of them. I've got 500 of them. I've got 1,000 of them. What does that mean? Oh, they've produced 5,000 cards for the player. Well, that means you're 20% of the way there. That's good. But then you've got one of ones and you got all that. Can you get them all? Maybe. With an unlimited budget, why not? Go for it. But it gets a little bit tricky. And kind of going along with that as well, another little tip I would give is, it's a little counterintuitive to conventional wisdom, something I hear in a lot of videos. They say, get the best grade that you can afford. I agree and disagree at the same time. Reason being, and as someone who collects vintage and modern, I agree and disagree. The reason why I say so is that when you're collecting a set, some of those cards, like that Maze there, the Willie Mays was a 1.5 in PSA, the Aaron was a 4. Here's the thing, at the time, I could have afforded to pay a little bit more for both cards and gotten higher condition versions of it. But then I would have also sacrificed picking up some of the singles and commons for the same sets. So I'd have a nicer star card, which would be good if you plan to resell or something later down the line, maybe you want to upgrade or whatever. So there is a benefit to it. But it also means you're going to be a lot slower plodding along. So I've reached the point where I'm trying to balance. I don't want the cards to look really, really crummy, but I don't mind so much as long I really more than anything want to get to completion. And I actually would feel more comfortable doing the upgrading later on. But that's me. That's kind of the way I prefer to do it. But maybe you want to go straight for, this is the condition that I want. I want every card to be centered. I want the sharp corners. I want, clean register, good color. Whatever works for you, it goes along the same as what I said before. Whatever works for you the best and keeps you engaged and interested, then that's probably the way you want to go about it. And if you have the budget to it, go for it. Go get yourself PSA 10s or whatever you want to do. So that leads me to my next goal. So this is number 4. So goal number 4 is specifically with my Mike Modano collection, one that I had, probably my oldest player collection. I want to get to 100 Mike Modano autographs, 100 different Mike Modano autograph cards. So there's an example of one that I picked up recently. Again, I tried to keep it to recent pickups just to make it a little easier. Hopefully you can see that. Let me just see if that's in focus. Yeah. So right now I have 73. So 73 total with 3 coming in. That should be probably in the first couple of mail days of 2019. So that gives me to 76. So again, I have 24 to go. Very doable in 2019. I'm kind of spoiled for choice because really there's a bunch that I'm missing. So realistically, I can just focus on whatever ones I want. I think I want to kind of spread that one out throughout the year because I basically don't want to try to buy 24 all at once. I'm thinking I probably want to pick up 2 or 3 a month. And then by the end of the year, I got there, just naturally. It gives me a little bit more flexibility in my collecting budget as well to work on some of these sets and things that I'm working on. So I think that's how I'm going to approach it. And that's kind of my goal for 2019. And that kind of leads me to, my next tip specifically. It's don't try to do everything at once. And that kind of goes, everything kind of underlies to that focus thing. The number 1 is really the big one because it'd be very tempting. By the way, there's more projects that I've kind of started throughout the year where I've kind of put them to the side for the moment. I've shelved them just because I'm like, okay, I know I can start all these, but there's no way I can finish them all if I'm trying to complete a 57 Topps Packer set, which I got some cards from earlier this year. It's still in my list of things to do, but I've kind of shelved it for the moment for these 5 that I'm going to focus on. And then I've got a couple of honorable mentions that are going to be in there as soon as one of these top 5 go off the list. So that's kind of how I'm approaching it. I'm trying to focus on the 5, and if one of them drops off, then I come to the next one on the list and add that into my list. So my list at the end of the year will probably change a lot, and for 2020 will probably be very different than 2019. So don't try everything at once. You can, it's kind of fun to hit. Sometimes it feels like you don't have something for a specific collection, so it feels like you're kind of being stagnant for a little while. Sometimes it's okay to sit back and let your wallet get a recovery period. I know that in December, especially with the holidays, I went a little bit ham on this. That's why there's a bunch that are on the way, but they haven't arrived yet. So it's tempting to try to do everything at the same time, and then you end up blowing your entire budget, and yeah, you're sitting around for a while anyway. So that's just a tip that I would give you. It's really up to you how you want to approach that. So the number 5 goal for 2019 that I'm working on is I want to complete the 1960-61 Parkhurst hockey set. So that's my Gordie Howe card there. It's an example. Again, the reflection's really going nuts. There we go. Hopefully at least that's somewhat visible. So this right here is a really good set if you're interested in the 60s, because, let's see if I can, there we go, that's the back. It's kind of cool that it has the logo on the back. So that's kind of a cool set from the 60s, because I think it's only 61 cards, so it's very doable. There are plenty of stars in it, of course, but it's kind of nice when it's a number under 100, because you can focus on a specific one. That's a set I'm probably going to try to complete in reasonable condition, like a little bit higher than I would for some other vintage sets, only because there's not as many cards to pick up, so it's a little bit easier. And then I also eventually want to get them all graded, just to have a complete set like that graded. 61 cards will take up a fair bit of space, but not as much as some of the bigger sets could totally do, especially some of the baseball sets from the 70s that I've done in the past. So those are the top 5 goals for 2019 that I've set, and some tips along the way as well, kind of things I've learned. So I will mention a couple of honorable mentions here just at the end to finish off the video. So one of them is that Marty Turco rookie card set that I was kind of working on as well throughout the year. So I'll use that as an example there. That card actually only cost me about $5 or $6, even with the holder. Again, don't buy the holder, but the card. So I'm still missing about 6 or 7 of them, but it's not really a priority, like compared to some of these other sets, especially since some of them are still a little bit overpriced, in my opinion, given the way Turco's career went. He was a very good player in his time, but I'm not really willing to pay close to $100 for some of the rookies, even some of the more limited ones. So it's something I'll keep an eye on, and I'll probably chip away at towards the end of the year once I've really made some headway on some of these other goals. So last, certainly not least, one more vintage just to finish it off. So this is, I would also like to get a little further ahead on my 1954-55 Parker set. So let me do that. Put this card in front here. There we go. Hopefully you can see that. So again, that kind of goes back into what I was saying earlier. It's like, this is a PSA 1. It's actually pretty nice. Actually, a little bonus tip here I'll throw in related to this. And I heard it mentioned. I want to cite the video, and I'm going to try to remember what it was. And if I can find it, I'll put it in the description or up in the corner. And they mentioned, like, don't make qualifiers about condition of cards. Don't be ashamed. Like, oh, it's only a 1. It's like, I bought it as a 1. It was intentional. I wanted to get this Maurice Richard for this set, but I didn't want to pay top dollar. And I was like, well, it's already graded. I don't have to worry about authenticity. I know what the grade is. I looked at the pictures and the resolution scan, and I'm happy with it for the condition that it's in. Like, I have no issue with that. And if you know what you're buying into and you're happy with it, then be happy with it. That's kind of the whole point of the collecting thing. If you're just trying to compete or in some way with people that have much bigger budgets than you do, who are trying to collect the highest condition version of everything, then you're always going to be unhappy. And that's kind of true in everything, especially on the internet. If you try to compete with somebody, guess what? Somebody does it better than you. Somebody's stronger than you. Someone's smarter than you. And someone has more money than you do. And they probably will spend it in a way that you might wish you could, but you can't. So as long as you're happy with the collection that you're putting together and the collection you're building and the cards that you're getting, especially in this part of it, talking about the hobby specifically, then you're good. So that's a little bit of a longer kind of talky, rambly video. I won't go on too much longer. That's it. So those are my 5 main goals that I have for 2018, with a couple of honorable mentions and a couple of tips that I would give to anyone either starting a collection or thinking about or maybe getting back into it for the first time. Let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts on that. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. If you're watching this video right at the end, when the day it comes out on the Monday, then, Happy New Year. Wish you the best in 2019. Hopefully you accomplish whatever you're trying to accomplish and whatever goals you're trying to accomplish. And we'll see you in the new year. Thanks for watching.